Good morning, and thank you all for joining us for the 12th annual Lifesavers Breakfast. My name is Scott Smith. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a social worker, I'm a survivor of suicide loss, and I'm the executive director of the Alliance for Suicide Prevention of Larimer County. I'm excited to see so many members of our community here to support the Alliance for Suicide Prevention virtually. The theme for this year's breakfast is Rise. We picked a heck of a year to rise up against, but I am confident that we can do it. Challenging times challenge us individually and collectively. And even though so many folks are suffering now with the COVID pandemic, less social connection, economic struggles, racial injustice, fires, increased stress, and political division, I am confident that we will get through this. The way that is going to happen is by us doing it together. Much like reducing and preventing suicide, the only effective way is to do it together. I want to start off by recognizing this year's Leading Light sponsors: Summit Stone Health Partners and Decibels Molded Earplugs. These sponsors not only partner with us in the community, but they have been generous in being our Leading Light sponsors. This helps to keep all of our programming free. So thank you, Summit Stone Health Partners, and thank you, Decibels. Additionally, I would like to thank our community champion sponsors: Taylor's Financial, Peter Velchek Agency with Farmers Insurance, Roche Constructors, Inc., and Bank of Colorado. These businesses and organizations have helped make this event and our work over the year possible through their generous sponsorship. I would also like to thank our prevention partners: FCI Construction, Canvas Credit Union, and the Women's Clinic of Northern Colorado. In addition to our amazing sponsors, we have partnered with the local food delivery app, Nosh, formerly NoCo Nosh, who have added a donation button for us during September. Further, if you order with the Nosh app today, 10% of the proceeds will be going to the Alliance. So I would encourage everyone to get a meal delivered to your door today with Nosh. Now, we usually provide breakfast when this event is in person. For obvious reasons, we could not do that this year. So through Nosh, we will be donating $1,000 to local food banks. A special thanks to all the many people who helped make this event and month possible: Joanne Caton, Robin Zweisler, Lauren Maines, Nikki Lucas, Arlene Brown, Kendall Nolan, John Thompson, Kathy Lucas, our entire board of directors, and all of our staff. I know it's been a very hectic month, so thank you for hanging in there. Also, I want to thank all of the amazing people who donated to the silent auction, which is available on 2020rise.givesmart.com. Also there, you will find several sticky notes for sale, multiple bottles of wine still available, and our mental health advocate t-shirts for sale as well. Again, that's 2020rise.givesmart.com. Sadly, ASP is losing two longtime board members at the end of this year: Dr. Loran Stallings and Jason Taylor. Dr. Stallings has served on the Alliance board for multiple terms for a combined over 10 years of service. Dr. Stallings was the founding director of the Masters in Public Health program at the Colorado School of Public Health at CSU, and has published on a variety of health, mental health, and public health topics, including suicide, with a focus on rural and farming populations. Loran has brought both professional expertise and personal commitment to the Alliance for Suicide Prevention. She was also the first person to interview me when I first applied to the job, and her welcoming tone and positivity cemented my desire to work here. Thank you for your service, Loran, and I know we will continue to partner together on community ventures. Jason Taylor has also been a longtime board member, serving since 2012. Jason has brought his financial expertise and love of people to further the organization's mission. In addition to helping out with the Alliance, Jason also volunteers his time with the organization NoCo100.org and by coaching his daughter's soccer teams. Both Jason and Loran were responsible for shepherding the Alliance through its difficult years, and I truly believe that the agency would not be here if not for them. From the rest of the board and all the staff, thank you for your years of service, support, and dedication. Whew, it has really been a year. I am frequently asked about how the COVID situation is affecting the suicide rate. Indeed, these unprecedented times have brought about new challenges and have exacerbated already existing struggles. Many of our communities that were already experiencing disadvantages and marginalization have been hit hard with even more obstacles: housing and food insecurity, job loss, and isolation. These challenges are risk factors for suicide, but the direct relationship with the rate of suicides and COVID is not a clear delineation. We won't really know the full extent that this pandemic is having on the suicide rate for some time. Thankfully, some initial gauges are indicating that the suicide rate is not increasing in our region at this time. If we look at the time frame from April until August and compare it to last year, we have had less suicides. However, there still needs to be more data and time before we can have a complete and accurate depiction of the suicide rate related to COVID-19. What we do know is that local and state crisis services are seeing an uptick in people utilizing those resources. We are also starting to see a higher amount of people utilize behavioral health supports and teletherapy, especially in the last month. While some might think that if more people are accessing crisis services, more people must be dying by suicide, it is actually the opposite. More people using crisis services ultimately means that more people are reaching out in their time of need and are getting life-saving help and support. Behavioral health and crisis services are preventative services, and the goal is to increase the amount of people who feel comfortable accessing them. Each person who calls the crisis line or who walks into a crisis center represents a life saved, and there are a lot of lives being saved at the moment. I think that the increased amount of people who are accessing services is a testament to all of the agencies and community members that are dedicated to providing help across Larimer County. At the Alliance, we have continued our growth and have been determined to take a more proactive and community-focused approach to suicide prevention. Since the last breakfast, which feels like so long ago, we have hired on 5 positions that focus on increasing our reach and improving collaboration. We have hired on additional staff to deliver youth programming in middle schools and high schools across the county. We have also hired a position to help coordinate all mental health related trainings and make sure agencies are working together towards our shared goals. We've also rounded out our peer outreach programming by hiring a veteran outreach coordinator and an LGBTQ+ youth outreach coordinator, and hiring a separate adult male outreach coordinator. Additionally, since the pandemic, we have worked hard to switch all programming to be offered virtually and have increased our direct peer outreach, namely with veterans and adult males. Pre-COVID, we were receiving roughly 1 to 2 referrals a week to our veteran outreach program. That number tripled during April and the following months, and I am so thankful that our staff and the community was able to provide a response. Now, historically, suicide rates decrease in times of war or collective hardship. This is in part due to people's resiliency, feelings of going through something together, and increased feelings of collectivism. Conversely, suicide rates often increase in times of economic hardship. So we really need to make sure that we have enough resources and systems of support in place. There have been several studies measuring Americans' mental health since COVID that we do need to be attentive to. During this past June, several studies report that US adults had considerably elevated adverse mental health conditions associated with COVID-19. Further, younger adults, racial and ethnic minorities, essential workers, and unpaid adult caregivers reported having experienced disproportionately worse mental health outcomes, increased substance use, and elevated suicidal ideation. I mention this not only because it is the reality, but also because it highlights the importance of our work and all the work happening around this country. Now, I would like to turn it over to our amazing staff who does the real work. As many of you know, ASP was lucky to merge and serve as the backbone agency for the Imagine Zero Coalition of Larimer County. Something that also happened because of this partnership is the work of the Colorado National Collaborative. To explain a little bit more about that work, I would like to introduce Rachel Olson, aka Bad Mama Olson, aka The Connector. Rachel.
Thanks, Scott. Good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to be here with you. I am Rachel Olson. I go by she, her pronouns, and I have been very fortunate to be the Imagine Zero Coalition Coordinator in Larimer since 2017. You might be saying, what is Imagine Zero? Imagine Zero is the community coalition portion of Alliance for Suicide Prevention. We bring together all the entities that are working on suicide prevention in Larimer County, everyone from districts to healthcare systems to nonprofits, elected officials, and local citizens that want to get involved. Our goal is to reduce duplication and enhance cooperation throughout Larimer County. Imagine Zero started back in 2015 with a small group of people from the Child Advocacy Center and UC Health meeting to plan a youth suicide symposium. As they began to meet, they quickly began to realize they didn't know one another, and what they needed was a coalition in order to reduce duplication and cross-pollinate ideas. Since 2015, Imagine Zero has grown significantly with the help of the Grief Support of the Rockies and Summit Stone Health Partners. And as Scott mentioned, in 2018, Imagine Zero was approached by the Office of Suicide Prevention to be part of the Colorado National Collaborative. When this happened, we knew there was going to be much more work to do, and we needed a bigger team to do it. Starting in 2019, we were so thrilled when Alliance for Suicide Prevention had a door open when they had a change in leadership. At that time, Alliance for Suicide Prevention and Imagine Zero were able to align our missions and all of our prevention efforts. We went from a staff of 1 at the time to now an amazing staff of 8 that is going to take all of our prevention efforts to the next level. We have grown since its inception in 2015 from a small handful of people to a much larger base. We now have over 700 individual members representing over 40 entities all throughout Larimer County. We are so thrilled with the momentum, and we are really excited to get to work on the Colorado National Collaborative. As mentioned, Larimer has been selected as one of the 6 counties to work on the Colorado National Collaborative with our state and national partners. We have a goal of reducing suicide rates by 20% by 2024. This is no small task. There are 6 pillars that is going to guide our work on the Colorado National Collaborative. These 6 pillars are connectedness, economic stability, education and awareness, access to suicide safer care, lethal means safety, and postvention. You might be asking yourself at this point, how do you get involved? Well, we have many work groups and also amazing quarterly coalition meetings. Right now we have 3 Colorado National Collaborative pillar focused work groups, which are Zero Suicide, Larimer Trainings Work Group, Postvention, and we have 5 priority population work groups. We have an LGBTQ work group, a veterans work group, men's work group, and we are looking to form a faith work group and a Latinx work group. Each of these meet monthly, and we'd be happy to get you connected to their leader. And please join us this coming October 13th for our next quarterly coalition meeting. We're going to be focused on connection and care, bridging communities for suicide prevention. Please reach out to me at my email or my phone number for any questions. We can't wait to have you involved. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Rachel. In addition to spearheading the work of the Imagine Zero Coalition and the CNC, Rachel is an awesome mom to 2 amazing daughters, and she just started graduate school for applied positive psychology. I don't know how she does it. Next, I would like to introduce our employee with the most history at ASP, our program manager, Cecilia Reynolds. Cecilia not only kept the ship afloat and was our only employee for a few months, but she has increased and improved our youth programming immensely. So I present Cecilia Reynolds, aka Seawolf, aka #1 whale fan, Cecilia.
Thank you, Scott, for that kind introduction. And hello, everyone. My name is Cecilia Reynolds. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the program manager at the Alliance and the Regional Youth Suicide Prevention Coordinator for Larimer County. I've been with the Alliance for 2 years now. Today, actually, the breakfast is my work anniversary, and it's the best way to celebrate every year. I would like to share a little bit about the work that I do. A big part of my job is delivering our youth education program in middle and high schools. That program is called Raising Awareness of Personal Power, or RAP for short. Last year, we had an amazing year for the program as we partnered with 17 schools to deliver RAP to 3,150 students. This was a record for us despite the school year being cut short in March due to COVID-19. In response to COVID-19, we developed a video version of RAP that reached another 200 young people. We are currently delivering RAP to schools in a virtual setting, and honestly, it's going really well. This week alone, we trained another 150 students. Last year, our program also resulted in 550 referrals, meaning 550 students in our community became connected with a mental health professional. I would like to share a quote about the program from a student who says, "I know how to help people now." And that really warms my heart because that is what we're hoping for, and that's why we do what we do. The other half of my job is to serve as the Regional Youth Suicide Prevention Coordinator, a position that has counterparts in other counties throughout the state. In this role, I connect with youth-serving agencies to train them on what to do if a young person is showing signs of suicidality, to help them create policies for what to do in those moments, and to overall help align youth suicide prevention efforts in our community. One of my favorite facts, and if you have taken a training with me, you definitely know this fact, centers around protective factors. The number one thing that decreases a young person's risk for suicide is having a trusted adult in their life. That means if you are somebody's mentor, if you are somebody's coach, if you are somebody's teacher, or somebody who young people can go to and feel heard and supported, you're somebody's trusted adult. And that is suicide prevention, and we thank you. If you do work with young people and you don't know me yet, I would love to get to know you. So you can see here, this is my email address. I would love to reach out to you and let's connect and work together to prevent youth suicide in Larimer County. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to continue working with you in the future.
Thank you, Cecilia. Our next employee has been a longtime volunteer, and she was so great that we had to snatch her up and get her on staff. She's a beautiful human being and helps organize agencies around the county that provide mental health training to maximize delivery and reduce duplication. She is also an incredible artist and painted the cornhole set that we have in the silent auction, so check that out. May I introduce Savannah Phelan Jones, aka Black Sabbath, aka Savannah White. Savannah.
Hi all, my name is Savannah Phelan Jones. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the training and volunteer coordinator here at the Alliance. To reiterate what a couple of my coworkers have already said now, it is an absolute joy to do what we do in our community, and it makes me so grateful to see all of your supportive faces here today. I'm going to talk a bit about how I fit into the Alliance team. My job is twofold. On the more cut and dry side, I coordinate suicide prevention gatekeeper trainings. What is a suicide prevention gatekeeper training, you ask? Great question. This is not something people typically know until they receive one. The suicide prevention gatekeeper training that I most widely coordinate is called QPR. This is an acronym for Question, Persuade, Refer, and outlines our recommended steps to take when you're worried that a loved one may be considering suicide. During this nationally recognized training, attendees learn about national and local statistics, warning signs and risk factors for suicide, how to ask directly about suicide, how to have the potentially difficult conversation that may follow that question, and what local resources are available for you to assist your loved one in connecting to. I typically coordinate this training for local nonprofits, gyms, churches, restaurants, clubs, and more. There is no group that we would ever turn down for a training. I've delivered trainings to community groups in formal settings like a conference room at a tech company, and also to groups in much less formal settings like a book group gathered in someone's living room. With the recent push to train our community through the CNC, referenced earlier by my coworker Rachel, all community groups are receiving training more frequently now than ever, which is a huge win for us here at ASP. I will now tell you all this. The one thing you can do for yourself and your loved ones right now is to sign up to receive this training or encourage your workplace to receive this training in the near future as a group. We're currently offering this free training virtually, and at an hour long, it has never been easier to receive. I can't stress enough the value in this training, as learning these skills and gaining these simple tools will equip you with the information you need to properly help your loved ones for the rest of your life. Even if you think you may not have a specific role to play in suicide prevention other than to donate, it is attending this virtual gatekeeper training, which is a great place to start. Another part of my role as the training coordinator is organizing the Larimer County Trainings Collaborative, a monthly work group made up of mental health trainers here in Larimer County. These are folks who work within organizations that deliver trainings to community groups, just like ASP does. We meet as a group to work on community training goals as outlined by the CNC and strengthen the social fabric of our community organizations within the mental health field. One of the primary goals of this group is to leverage our collective marketing and reach more residents in Larimer County to receive mental health training. I think too often groups and nonprofits compete to get their programs and training out in the community, and I am so honored that in Larimer County, the spirit of collaboration runs deep. Further, we're able to coordinate multiple trainings on mental health topics for a particular group or business, with the hope that this will deepen their understanding on those issues, much more than simply receiving one training per year. So again, if your club, group, or workplace would like to receive a training on any mental health related issue, please reach out to me and I would love to set that up. If you're part of an organization that provides mental health training and you're not already part of the Larimer County Trainings Collaborative, reach out and I'll get you connected to our monthly meetings. The second part of my job feeds my soul in a different way. As the volunteer coordinator, I meet with volunteers on a regular basis. In these meetings, we discuss what brought them to the table of suicide prevention, among running through ASP programs and opportunities for involvement. Many folks who are interested in volunteering with us here at ASP have had personal experiences with depression, mental illness, and suicide attempts or loss. Throughout my time as a volunteer coordinator, I've realized that sometimes people cope with difficult things by helping others. I've come to realize that most often, part of what people are looking for in our meetings is a place to share their story and find connection. Through this realization, the podcast project was born. Starting in October, I'm launching a program that seeks to capture the lived experience around suicide and mental health of community members here in Larimer County. This project takes form in one-on-one podcast episodes that seek to spread hope through healing conversation. Participants explore themes of struggle, resiliency, grief, loss, and hope that are weaved throughout their own narratives. For too long, mental health struggles, grief, and suicide have been kept in the dark. By celebrating these very human struggles, we can destigmatize mental health issues and create a space for community, connection, hope, and hopefully healing. I invite everyone who may be interested to reach out to me if you'd like to learn more or participate in the podcast project. To wrap up, I just want to say that I feel so lucky to work with my team in a community that not only prioritizes mental health, but actively comes together to support organizations like the Alliance in the work that we do to prevent suicide. So with that, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for joining us today. Thank you. Showing up is the first step in making a difference. Thanks.
Thanks, Sav. When Savannah isn't coordinating mental health and suicide prevention trainings, she is giving random dogs treats on the streets of Old Town. Our next employee started off as an intern last year, and she did such a great job, we had to hire her on. Let me welcome Kira Butler, aka K-Dog, aka K-Dragon, aka the Phoenix Crystal Witch. Kira.
Thank you for that, Scott. Hello, everyone. My name is Kira Butler, pronoun she, her. I'm the Youth Education Program Facilitator and the Grief Services Coordinator. As Scott said, I started off as an intern my last semester of college and was officially hired on October 1st last year. I co-facilitate our youth education program RAP with Cecilia. This position somewhat fell into my lap, so when I started presenting in schools as the RAP co-facilitator, I realized I was fulfilling one of my life goals to educate teens on mental health and suicide. This became a life goal after losing my best friend at the age of 14. My favorite part of this program is that we have an opportunity to destigmatize mental health and create a safe space for youth to be vulnerable, ask questions, and connect to help if they need it. A really important component of this program is that we get to connect youth to mental health professionals. As Cecilia mentioned, we were able to connect over 550 youth to a counselor last year. I truly believe that we are helping to save the lives of young people in our community. While tabling at an event last year, I had a teacher tell me about one of her students who attended RAP. She said that another student had referred him through our referral program to see a counselor. Later that day, the student said that he had planned to take his life that night. Because he was referred to a counselor through our program, he was no longer considering suicide. That story pulls at my heartstrings and fills my cup for many reasons. In addition to co-facilitating RAP, I also run our Youth Advisory Council made up of youth volunteers from around the county. Every year, the Youth Advisory Council manages a budget they use to create mental health projects in the community. We are big on them choosing what those projects are. Additionally, we run all of our youth programming by them, as we believe projects or programming for youth should be created by youth. One project they have done is creating over 500 self-care kits for youth in the community, with another 300 on the way this fall. They have also passed out over 500 positive mental health stickers with the crisis phone number on them to local coffee shops that were then put on their to-go cups. Along with being the youth education program facilitator, I am also the grief services coordinator. As part of that role, I run the Larimer County Postvention Work Group, which is under the Colorado National Collaborative that Rachel mentioned earlier. This work group is made up of numerous community partners, including Pathways, Three Hopeful Hearts, victim advocates from law enforcement, Poudre and Thompson School District, Kayak Connections, Summit Stone, and many more. The overarching goal of the group is to formulate a concrete and countywide plan whenever there is a suicide and ensure services are coordinated to reach and support families and loved ones. I also co-facilitate our Heartbeat Grief Support groups. All groups are for those that have lost a loved one to suicide. We have a general adult support, a support group for teens that have lost a loved one to suicide, and another in partnership with Three Hopeful Hearts for parents that have lost a child. We have also just launched our Remembrance Wall on the ASP website, a space for our community to remember loved ones who have been lost to suicide. So I welcome you all to visit it and leave a memory of a loved one. Working for the Alliance for the past year has helped me grow immensely and given me a family through work which I never knew was possible. I couldn't have asked for a better organization to work for to foster my ideas and help me to reach my goals and fulfill my passions. So thank you all for being here today and supporting this agency. It truly moves mountains in more ways than one.
Thanks, K-Dragon. When Kira isn't delivering youth programming, she is crushing it at CrossFit and perusing Facebook Marketplace for our future office furniture. Our next amazing team member is Jay Whitell. She probably has the most unique onboarding process, as her first day on the job was March 15th. Right when the COVID pandemic started to close things down. So she got to spend 2 whole days with us in person before going full virtual. She runs our LGBTQ+ youth outreach program and is an incredible human being. She has also brought so much to our team. So I welcome Jay Whitell, aka Jaybird, aka Jayhawk, to the stage.
Hello, my name is Jay Whitell, and my pronouns are she, her, or they, them. I'm the LGBTQ+ Youth Outreach Coordinator for the Alliance for Suicide Prevention of Larimer County, and my work primarily consists of community outreach and suicide prevention trainings. Community outreach is one of my top priorities. I collaborate with multiple local and state-level LGBTQ+ serving organizations to develop and strengthen relationships within the community here in Larimer County and across the state. Much of my work aims to address connectedness risk factors. As Rachel spoke about earlier, the connectedness pillar is an integral piece of the Colorado National Collaborative's 5-year plan. LGBTQ+ people are disproportionately affected by connectedness risk factors due to prejudice and discrimination. This means that LGBTQ+ youth especially are more likely than their peers to experience a lack of community connectedness and this causes those youth to be at a higher risk for suicide than others their age. My work aims to develop and strengthen connectedness protective factors for LGBTQ+ youth. This will be achieved by reducing discrimination through education, implementing safe policies, and creating safe spaces and communities for LGBTQ+ youth. Currently, I'm working with One Colorado and the school districts here in Larimer County to implement inclusive and safe policies. We are working to ensure that schools in Larimer County have safe spaces and safe guidelines for students and staff who are LGBTQ+. This includes establishing gender and sexuality alliances, developing affirming policies for transgender and gender nonconforming students, and providing trainings and resources to school staff so that they can best support LGBTQ+ students. A large national study conducted by the Trevor Project in 2019 found that LGBTQ+ youth who reported having at least one accepting adult were 40% less likely to report a suicide attempt in the past year. My hope is that the Alliance's work will provide community members with the skills, knowledge, and resources to be those accepting adults that LGBTQ+ youth desperately need. LGBTQ+ people exist everywhere in our community, and preventing LGBTQ+ suicide is contingent on broad community awareness and acceptance. I provide free trainings on LGBTQ+ inclusion and suicide prevention to community members and organizations. Currently, the trainings I will be providing are the ABCs of LGBTQ+, which covers all the ins and outs of the identities and how to use language inclusively, and a training that specifically addresses LGBTQ+ suicide prevention by providing concrete steps that individuals and organizations can take to reduce risk factors and strengthen protective factors. These trainings are free and will be available in October. If you or your organization is interested in receiving one or both of these trainings, please contact myself or another member of the Alliance for Suicide Prevention team. Finally, through ASP's partnership with Splash Youth of Northern Colorado, I provide direct support to our local LGBTQ+ youth. I regularly attend Splash meetings and assist in running the Gender Identity Support Group. Splash is currently running virtual support groups 3 times a week. If you or a youth in your life is interested in getting involved in Splash, reach out to myself or learn more at splashnoco.org. If you're otherwise interested in getting involved with LGBTQ+ suicide prevention, the LGBTQ+ work group meets virtually on the second Thursday of each month at 10:00 a.m. If you would like to join the work group, please contact myself or another ASP team member. My email is j@suicideprevent.org.
Thanks, Jay. When Jay isn't advocating for LGBTQ+ community, she is advocating to keep dried fruit in cookies. Our next staff member has just joined us 3 weeks ago, so I won't put the pressure on him to share what he loves about the job, but I will let him introduce himself. Bob Barber, AKA No Cool Nicknames Yet, Bob.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, like Scott said, I'm Bob Barber. I am a military vet, and I began with the Alliance over a year ago as a volunteer. And then I did my internship over the summer, starting in May. And they hired me on a few weeks ago as the men's outreach coordinator. And I do the peer groups here in Loveland with men and women. I am very excited to keep doing that and to push those groups forward and help as many people as I can. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Our next team member has been with us since June of 2019. He helped shape and create the peer outreach program, starting with adult men and then veterans. His theory was that men and veterans won't show up for help, but they will show up to help. So I present to you Marshall Spring, AKA Hope Springs Eternal, AKA Teddy Bear. Marshall.
Hello everyone, my name is Marshall Spring, my pronouns are he, him. I've been with the Alliance for a little over a year now, and I'm honored to work with this fantastic group of compassionate humans. My goal here has been to leverage lived experience to reduce the impact of suicide amongst target populations, utilizing a combination of upstream prevention, crisis response, peer support, advocacy, and postvention support. To achieve this, I engage in prevention efforts with adult-aged males and military veterans. I take a two-pronged approach to this. The first is through direct intervention with individuals in crisis. I go to them wherever and whenever they're in crisis. We eliminate all the barriers to a person getting help when they need it most. People experiencing crisis may not be able to drive, wait for the morning. Often there is a fear of law enforcement that keeps them from using emergency services. I often connect the dots between these individuals and local crisis centers. We use active listening and investigation techniques to identify problems, and then we enlist the help of professionals to solve them. We don't do this alone. We have compiled a comprehensive list of services, including doctors, therapists, support groups, housing support, food support, job training, legal resources, recreation activities, transportation support, and related professionals that we refer to people to. Clients are referred to us by a wide range of sources: the law enforcement, co-responder program, Summit Stone, the VFW, the American Legion, qualified listeners, Larimer County Veteran Service Office. When we encountered COVID-19, we rapidly adjusted our program. We immediately initiated digital meeting alternatives, increased support meetings, but we continue to conduct in-person crisis response at a really crucial time when people needed it. We've also increased our availability to handle these situations. We've increased my capacity by adding a new staff member, so when I get tied up with an individual in crisis, others' needs don't go unanswered. To date, we've provided peer support to around 175 individuals. The second prong of how I prevent suicide is through upstream education and support. We teach QPR to outside organizations, nonprofits, and businesses like police academies, gun shops, and local VFWs. Additionally, we have partnered with the Air Force Arnold Society to deliver QPR to every ROTC student in the United States, effectively altering the culture of the United States military's relationship with suicide for the future. This is a huge project, and we are so grateful to our partners at CSU for helping to create such an impactful program. We also lead support groups every week for veterans, men, and survivors of suicide. These groups are open to anyone. We also create enthusiast groups like Ruck and Health, which is where veterans and non-veterans get together in the mountains to hike together. These non-traditional settings are ideal for support activities. I've been helping the VA formulate their peer support program as well. As a part of the CNC, I serve in the District Attorney's Commission on Juvenile Gun Safety, which serves as the lethal means pillar for the state CNC. That group focuses on eliminating or reducing the harm inflicted on juveniles through gun violence. Recently, we started a documentary project showcasing the inspiring stories of people who have survived suicide attempts and overcome difficulties in their life experiences. I would love to share with you a short trailer for our project now.
Thanks, Marshall. When Marshall isn't connecting people in crisis to resources, he is taking care of his chickens or hanging upside down his garage like Batman. As Marshall mentioned, we have been working on creating a video project that captures the stories of people who survived a suicide attempt. We have interviewed 3 people to date, and we'll be putting those on our website soon. We wanted to give you a little taste of what that project is turning into. One of the people we interviewed is Tony Lynch, founder of the local nonprofit Memories of Us. We are grateful for letting Tony share his story. I also want to mention a trigger warning: suicide and suicide attempts are discussed. Here's an episode of I Survived.
My name is Tony Orlando Lynch, and I survived. I've survived 2 suicide attempts. I've survived an incarceration, being homeless, being in a drive-by and shot multiple times. I've survived the loss of my son and multiple family members, along with friends. So I attempted to take my life the first time. And I say the first time because it wasn't the last time that I attempted it. It was just the first time that I realized that I wasn't strong enough to do it. That's all. It was fear. But I thought I had pushed past that point. So a lot of down talking myself to get past the fear to do it, convincing myself that I'm not worthy, that this is what I deserve. I had a 45, and I had just put hollow tips in there. So one shot. I didn't want to come back from this one. I didn't want it to be botched up. Let's take all of this out. That was the goal. And that night where I was sitting there and I had made the decision, I went to go pull the trigger and someone called my name. As strange as it may sound, just as if I was talking to someone right next to me, they called my name. And my biggest fear was, I don't want to do it in front of anyone because I never wanted that image to be someone else's last image of me. So I stopped and searched around and there was no one there. But also, there was something else there. And it was just that little voice in my head saying, hey, you need to be careful about who's talking to you. And moving forward, I had to do one thing first, was admit that I needed help. 2, that I was not in a good place. And 3, what was my next steps? These were the questions I had to ask myself. No longer who I was. I figured I'm here. Again, this has been botched. So instead of trying to take my life, let's figure out what this life is trying to give me. So all of these things moving forward, I went to go get help. Unfortunately, for a man going through those type of losses, there are groups out there, but they're more co-ed and child or parent-based, but nothing for men. So after all of this, and I knew that if I didn't do something, I was going to do something else. I was teeter-tottering along those lines. There was no guarantee that I wasn't going to do it. I never told myself I wasn't. I just wanted to figure out, why am I still here being tortured like this? But it also started a journey to where, with everything that I had lost, all the people, all the losses, being homeless and things like that, I realized that there was more to it than just that. And I decided to start a nonprofit, which is Memories of Us, and provide grief support for men, but not just that. As a whole, it had a lot to do with the things I struggled with. My mental health, going through depression, loneliness, the anxiety, and that's all part of it. The recovery aspect, because drinking was one of the things I did, was one of my triggers that I resorted back to as a coping mechanism, and quickly found out that this is not the best idea for me, because if I start this, I am definitely not coming back down this road. So, and then suicide groups. And the reason being, because if me as a man can get to this point, being who I am and whom everyone thought I was at that time, the strong individual, if I can get to this point, just think of another person going through it. So I started Memories of Us with the notion of, I want to make a difference. I don't want another man to have to suffer the way I have and go through these things and have to navigate through life by themselves. So my biggest thing was starting this, not having any idea how I was going to do it. I just knew I was going to do it and these different elements that I was going to try to incorporate in. And I didn't know anyone from anyone how I was going to do it or even get there, right? So I began this journey, and one seminar led to another. The networking came about. Still, nothing real definite, but it was a good direction to go in, grabbing all of these resources. And as time went on, the dots started to connect, and I realized in order for me to do it, I was going to have to partner with other organizations that had a similar mission statement to mine. We partner with people that can make these differences because we can't do it alone. And we're so much better together. We're so much stronger together. And our goals are the same. I'm looking forward to serving. I'm looking forward to us taking our lived experiences and the knowledge that we have to help others that are going through it, because we understand more than most people that the journey is not an easy one. But most of all, we can't do it alone. And if we do try to do it alone, eventually we may find ourselves in a bit of trouble. Our goal is to say, don't find yourself in a bit of trouble. Come get the support. That way, if you get to that bit of trouble, we're there with you. We want to make sure that that you have the support and resources that you need and deserve.
Wow. Thank you, Tony, for sharing your story. Also, another big thank you to our leading light sponsors, Summit Stone Health Partners, Decibels Molded Earplugs, where generosity is helping to save lives in our communities. Also, a thank you to our community champion sponsors, Taylor's Financial, Peter Velchek Agency with Farmers Insurance, Roche Constructors, Inc., and Bank of Colorado. And to our prevention partners, FCI Construction, Canvas Credit Union, the Women's Clinic of Northern Colorado. Thank you so much to everyone. All of our sponsors care deeply about our community, so a big thank you to all. Again, just a reminder to visit 2020rise.givesmart.com to view all of our awesome silent auction packages. Our silent auction closes September 30th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can still buy t-shirts, sticky notes, and I believe we still have a few bottles of wine left for purchase on the 2020rise.givesmart.com website. Some of those bottles are valued at well over $100, and all of them are priced at $20, so it's a great deal. Whew, we did it. Thank you all so much for supporting the Alliance for Suicide Prevention. I encourage you all to rise with us. Rise to end stigma. Rise to support vulnerable populations. Rise to practice self-care. Rise to ask for help and give help. And rise to save a life. Thank you all again.